Earth was a joke. At least that's what the Varexian Empire called it. On the marble floors of the celestial conclave, beneath chandeliers made of compressed neutron crystal, admirals laughed openly when Earth's name appeared on the war projection sphere. The blue and green planet rotated slowly above the holographic dais, tagged with the standard designation pre-FTL, primitive, isolated. Combustion propulsion, one general scoffed, radio waves, chemical rockets, they barely crawl beyond their own gravity well. Another flicked his claws dismissively. Their strongest weapon detonates by splitting atoms. Atoms! Laughter rippled across the chamber. The Empire had ruled the Orion Arm for 12,000 cycles. Entire civilizations had bent the knee at the mere arrival of a Varexian scout frigate. They wielded gravity lensing cannons, singularity torpedoes, plasma scythes capable of slicing moons in half. Their fleets darkened stars. And Earth? Earth still argued about borders. So when long-range probes detected human transmissions pushing beyond their solar system, the Empire responded the same way it always did, with condescension. A single diplomatic cruiser was dispatched to Sol. It was meant to intimidate. It ended up changing galactic history. The Varexian cruiser Ascendant Dominion emerged from slipspace beyond Pluto's orbit, its obsidian hull bending light around it like a predator stalking prey. It broadcast a standard imperial declaration across every human frequency band simultaneously. This system now falls under the protection and jurisdiction of the Varexian Empire. Resistance is illogical. Compliance ensures survival. Across Earth, satellites crackled, military installations lit up, panic spread through command centers in Washington, Beijing, Moscow, Islamabad, London, Delhi, Tokyo. Humanity had searched the skies for centuries. They had not expected to be found like this. But something unusual happened next. Instead of surrender, instead of chaos, instead of planetary collapse, the humans replied, not with fear, with a question. Identify your propulsion method. The Varexian captain, High Commander Zareth, found the response amusing. Primitive species often fixate on technology they cannot comprehend. He ordered the cruiser to advance towards Earth orbit. Human defense platforms activated, crude metal constructs bristling with railguns and nuclear-tipped missiles. Laughable, the Ascendant Dominion could erase them without diverting primary power. But before the Varexians fired, Earth transmitted again. You are violating sovereign territory. Stand down. Zareth leaned back in his command throne. Fire a warning shot. A focused gravitic lance speared across space and vaporized one of Mars's moons in a silent flash of molten debris. On Earth, oceans shifted from the tidal shock. Global silence followed. The Empire expected surrender. Instead, something else happened. All human transmissions ceased. Not chaotic static, not emergency panic, total silence. Zareth narrowed his eyes. Have they submitted? No, Commander, his sensor officer replied slowly. Their digital networks are going dark intentionally. Explain. They are shutting down civilian infrastructure. Military encryption layers are activating across the planet. A pause. Then, Commander, we are detecting energy fluctuations within the Sol system. Zareth frowned. From their defense stations? No. The holographic map zoomed outward, past Earth, past Mars, past the asteroid belt, beyond Neptune. Space began to distort, like heat ripples across desert sand, except this was vacuum, and the ripples were forming geometric patterns. Zareth stood. That is not slipspace. No, Commander. It wasn't, because slipspace required a dimensional corridor, a predictable tear between branes. This was something else. Space folded, not ripped, folded. And then, they arrived. Not one ship, not 10, hundreds, thousands. Human warships materialized simultaneously in perfect spherical formation around the ascendant dominion. No slipspace wake, no wormhole aperture, no detectable transition. One moment they weren't there, the next moment they were. Zareth's blood ran cold. Impossible. The sensor officer's voice trembled. They bypassed entry vectors. They bypassed gravitational thresholds. They bypassed, Commander, they teleported. The human warships were nothing like the Empire expected. These were not fragile metal shells with primitive rockets. They were massive, angular, purpose-built, dark hulls bristling with weapon arrays that hummed with contained fury. At the center of the formation loomed something colossal, nearly the size of a small moon, a dreadnought, human, and its forward cannons were already charging. A transmission cut through the Virexian bridge. Clear, calm, human. You destroyed our moon. Zareth forced composure. You dare surround an Imperial vessel? You are outmatched by centuries. A slight pause. Then the human voice responded. Good. The first shot fired before the Empire could raise full shields. Not plasma, not kinetic. Reality bent. A focused spatial compression beam slammed into the Ascendant Dominion's port shields. Instead of exploding, instead of dissipating, the beam compressed the shield layer inward, crushing it against the hull like an invisible fist. Warning sirens screamed. Shield integrity dropping. 30%. 20. Zareth roared. Return fire. Gravitic lances lashed outward, spearing 3 human destroyers. They didn't explode. They flickered and vanished, reappearing 1,000 kilometers away. Teleportation. Instantaneous battlefield repositioning. The Empire's most sacred advantage, mobility through slipspace, had just become obsolete. The human dreadnought spoke again. You wanted compliance? Another cannon charged. You get escalation. The second volley didn't target shields. It targeted space itself. Micro-singularity charges detonated in precise geometric patterns around the cruiser, distorting local gravity wells and trapping the Ascendant Dominion in a prison of warped spacetime. Commander, the navigator shouted, our slip drives cannot lock onto a stable exit vector. Zareth felt something he had not experienced in centuries, fear. The humans had not stumbled into this confrontation unprepared. They had been waiting, watching, developing, silently. On Earth, inside a reinforced facility buried beneath the Himalayas, human commanders observed the battle in real time. A general folded his hands behind him. Phase 1 complete. A scientist beside him exhaled slowly. Teleportation lattice stable across the fleet. No quantum drift. Good. Above them, on screens stretching wall to wall, the Virexian cruiser struggled helplessly inside a prison of warped spacetime. Open channel, the general ordered. The human fleet commander's face appeared on the Virexian bridge. A woman, mid-40s, calm eyes. You made one mistake, she said evenly. Zareth snarled. You are a primitive species meddling with forces beyond your... You assumed we were primitive because we were quiet. Behind her, the void filled with more distortions, more ships arriving. Not from Sol, from everywhere. Deep space coordinates flickered across Imperial sensors, points scattered across the galaxy. And at each point, space folded. More human fleets, materializing simultaneously across dozens of Imperial sectors. Zareth's throat tightened. This is impossible. No civilization can project power at this scale without relay gates. The woman tilted her head slightly. Who said we needed gates? On Imperial core worlds, alarms began to sound. Human fleets appeared above shipyards, above supply depots, above fortress stations thought impenetrable. No warning, no travel time, just arrival. In the conclave chamber, the projection sphere erupted with red markers. An aide screamed, unknown fleets materializing across 13 sectors. The High Chancellor stared in disbelief. How? A whisper filled the chamber as emergency transmissions flooded in. They are teleporting entire armadas. Back in Seoul, Zareth watched as the human dreadnought's main cannon reached critical charge. "You would start a war you cannot win?" he hissed. The human commander's expression didn't change. "You already started it." The cannon fired. This time, the beam punched clean through the weakened shields and tore along the cruiser's spine, not exploding, not dissipating, but surgically dismantling power conduits and weapon systems with terrifying precision. The Ascendant Dominion went dark. Life support flickered, weapons offline, engines dead. They hadn't destroyed it, they had disabled it deliberately. The human commander leaned closer to the camera. "We could have erased you." Zareth said nothing. "We chose not to." Silence stretched between predator and prey, but the roles had shifted. "You will return to your empire, and you will deliver a message." Zareth's jaw tightened. "Earth